Okay. Supposedly I am live again. I'm going to wait a few minutes for everyone to find the new stream because the first one didn't work. It was getting stuck and freezing for everybody. So I'm going to wait a few minutes for everybody to hop on this new live stream. Hopefully you guys find it. Let me know if you can see me and hear me okay now, because in theory, my connection should be strong. I'm not getting any warning signs from YouTube anymore. So hopefully it's working now. Let me know. I see everybody hopping on. Wonderful. You can see me and hear me okay? Great. That was the problem. It was my VPN. And usually I remember to shut off my VPN before I live stream, but I didn't check this time because I was running around trying to get everything together last minute. So sorry about that, everyone. It's always so annoying when glitches like that happen. But I feel like we're good now, okay? Awesome. So I'm glad you are all here. I'm going to talk for a few minutes while everybody gets back onto this live stream. It's always so confusing when I have to stop one and start another. But anyway, if you're new around here, the way that these live streams work is we do writing sprints together. Today we're going to do 3 writing sprints, 20 minutes on and 5 to 10 minutes off. I chat in the breaks with you guys during the 5 to 10 minute break. We chat about your stories and I answer some of your questions that pop up in the chat feed. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun. So if this is your first time here, welcome. And thank you so much for joining us today. Tell me where you're tuning in from and what you're working on today. I would love to hear about it. So what I'm working on today is my Lighthouse book is what I refer to it as. And it's funny because I didn't actually start this writing retreat working on this book. I started working on a different book and then kind of shifted my focus a bit because I wasn't feeling super inspired with the other project. And I kept coming back to the Lighthouse book. There's just something about it that has like this magical quality for me that I really love. There's no magic in it. It's a contemporary, but I just really love this book. There's something special about it. So I've been kind of infusing some new ideas into it over the past few weeks, and that's been exciting because it has breathed new life into this story in a way that just makes me really excited to share it with you guys. So that's what I'm working on today. And I've actually finally got to the part where I can write something like new stuff because I was just editing for a long time, just rewriting, revising, which can be very boring after a while. But I finally reached a point where I have to write some new scenes. So that's what I'm doing today. I'm writing a brand new scene, brand new chapter for like the middle of this book. And I actually started writing it this morning. If you were in the Discord community, you know that I was in there this morning doing some writing sprints with you guys, and that was fun. But that's what I'm going to continue working on during this live stream. So it looks like we have writers from all over the world. Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad to see you all here. Fantastic. Wonderful. And so many different writing projects. Very awesome to see all these writers from all around the world working on many different writing projects. And it's just so cool to be able to come together as a community and do this. I love it. And I love seeing your progress in the Discord community, which, by the way, if you haven't been in there, it's never too late to join. And you can get in on the Discord community by joining my Patreon at any level. And the link to that is in the description box below this video. Okay, so who's ready to write? Looks like everybody's found this live stream. Fantastic. And we're going to get started in just a minute. So I have my my scrivener up here. I think I can resume syncing on my Dropbox, but I'm kind of concerned about my connection issues. So I think I'm going to keep it paused for now. But yeah, wonderful. Oh, Rocket wants to come in. Hold on. Rocket wants to say hi. You want to come in? You want to say hi to the YouTube squad? Here he is. I know you guys ask for him when he's not here. Yes, He's so sweet. He loves sitting with me while I write. So who's ready to get started? I am so ready to get started. I'm going to set my timer in a minute. And I was like freaking out because when I opened my Scrivener on this computer, it was like, Scrivener is also opened on your other computer. And I never know if that's legit. So I just like made a copy just in case I lost it. But that always freaks me out. Okay, so let's set our timers. 20 minutes today. We're doing 20-minute sprints. Oh, I was going to open Discord. I'm like so distracted. You're distracting me. The dog distracted me severely. He's so cute though. Okay, so let's open up the Discord. Okay, so somebody started this? No, that's old. Not at the bottom yet. Oh, okay. Someone did. Wonderful. Thank you. So I'm going to join that. And I don't know how many words I have, so I'm just going to join 0. Okay. Wonderful. Let's get our timers going and let's get started. I'm going to have to set you down because I can't write with you in my lap. Here. that was timer number 1 for writing sprint number 1. Tell me how it went in the comments below or on the side, wherever they are. Chat. So let's see how many words I wrote. 318. So I kind of changed my mind as to what I was doing with this conversation. But it's better than nothing, and I feel like I got a good start in it. So, tell me how it went. Rocket is fast asleep because this is boring for him. Looks like you guys had a great sprint. 120 words. Awesome. 300, 234. Awesome. Great job, guys. Fantastic. Wonderful. So, we are going to take a quick break and I'm going to answer a few questions and then we're going to get into writing sprint number 2. Okay, so let's see. I feel like I'm going to need music for my next sprint. Okay. From Clara, what is the best way to make your reader cry at a side character's death? So making character deaths emotional, I feel, has to do with making you care about the character in general. Like, it's not just their death you have to care about. Like, you have to care about them as a character in order for you to feel sad when they die. So the first step of that then would be to give them good internal conflict, make them relatable, make them flawed and struggling and trying to find happiness. Another thing that can be fun to do is to give a character like a wild character arc where they kind of start out as like a morally gray person, or just they kind of have a negative character arc and then they go on more of a positive character arc, and then just as they become more positive, a happier, better version of themselves, they die. I know, it's sad, it's heartbreaking, but that's one way to break your reader's heart, is to like first make you hate this character and kind of wish they would die, and then to take them like on this great journey where they become a better person, and then you kill them. And that's like really heart-wrenching because you've been on such an emotional roller coaster ride with this character already. I just find that that's like, those are the kinds of side character deaths that usually make me really upset when I see them or read them. Let's see. I'm writing a script for the first time and it's honestly weird. Haha. Do you have any advice for writing a script? So I have done some script writing. I would not call myself a script writer necessarily, a screenwriter, because I just haven't done a whole ton of it, but I do really enjoy it. I enjoy adapting like a written, book into a screenplay format because it just helps me to get a better idea of how I see a scene formulating in my mind. So I think some writers are like just born screenwriters, like they see things more visually, they see how a scene will unfold. Whereas writers who are more inclined to like novel writing, I think that we just like see the scene unfolding slightly differently, more from the perspective of one character rather than the perspective of how are we going to see this as the audience? How can we kind of see everyone's emotions through the camera? So it's definitely a whole different thing. I would not say that the two are very similar. Like, yes, they're both a writing, but they're very different. My advice would be to stay very simple, especially when you're writing like narrative or action, like the part that's not dialogue. Anything that's not dialogue, don't get too wordy or descriptive, because this is just to establish what we see. Okay, we don't have to go into the character's thoughts. And this is the tricky part for me when I'm adapting something that I wrote into screenplay format. It's like all the narrative that has to now be interpreted differently for the camera to see it, right? And not for necessarily for us to info dump the narration. So yeah, less is more with screenwriting for sure. Also pay attention to the fact that every page of a screenplay basically equates to 1 minute of screen time. So if you're writing a huge long description of a place or something that's happening visually on the screen, just take into account that you want the pacing to kind of match the pace at which you're reading it. So that's another thing to keep in mind. But there's a lot of great writings on screenwriting, which I'm sure do the art far more justice than I can, because I haven't done a lot of it, like I said. But a story is a story is a story. You know, you don't have to relearn how to write a story in order to write a screenplay. All stories basically abide by the same rules, but it's definitely a whole different medium. Let's see. Hold on. Not a question, but just to say, I watched your video on making a pretty template for scrivening the other day, and now my scrivener looks beautiful. So thank you. I'm so glad. I love that video, and I love making my scrivener look beautiful. I actually have like a pretty blue theme that I'm working from right now on my scrivener, which is really nice. Okay. Is switching between 2 point of views after a different amount of chapters disturbing? So I assume you mean like going for a while with one point of view and then switching to an extra point of view. I personally don't think it's a problem, especially if you as the reader want to hear from this other perspective. I mean, I've done that with adding a third point of view after just switching between two. And I find that as long as there's that interest from the reader, from the audience of like, we want to know what's going on with this other character and then we introduce them, I would rather have that than have like a mystery unrelated point of view, which to me how this character is relevant until deeper into the book. Like I would rather have the point of view appears when the character appears, when it becomes necessary for the character to have a point of view. That's always been my rule of thumb, and that's what I highly recommend. How would you recommend writing a book with two perspectives, but also using flashbacks? Basically, just how you would write any other book. I mean, it's 2 point of views. Really, it seems like it complicates things, but it really doesn't, because as long as you can slip into this new character's voice and show us what matters to them. I think flashbacks are a great way to do that, because we can go into the past where some pivotal moments happened, right, and shaped this person into the character that they are today. And that to me is really important, to show your reader that, even if you don't go into huge long flashbacks, you know, you could just sprinkle in flashbacks here and there that are like one sentence. That's something that I really enjoy playing with my own writing, is like, can I throw in just like sprinkles of the past, sort of, you know, because that's how we navigate life a lot of times, is we don't go into like these huge, deep, long memories. It's more like maybe there's an object or a place that makes you think about one small moment in your past. And that one small moment can really tell us a lot about characters. So that's also something fun to play with. Let's see. I'm gonna answer 2 more questions, then we're gonna get into our next sprint. Good question from ISO. How do I make people anxious to know what happens next? Oh, that's the ultimate question, isn't it? I mean, that's what writers have been asking themselves forever. And it's pretty simple, honestly. It's brain science, right? Curiosity factor. You have to create that curiosity factor with your readers. So what creates curiosity for people engaging with anything? Doesn't matter if it's a book, movie, or something else that's happening in their life, right? The ability to trigger a person's curiosity lies in first making something matter to them personally. And that's why I always go back to showing the reader what matters to your character, what's important to them, What are their beliefs? What is true to them? And what do they want? What are they afraid of? All of that juicy internal conflict, creating that, and then bringing your character into their shoes, into their perspective, or your reader rather, and helping your reader to relate to them, right? And what creates the curiosity is not just unanswered questions, but the need to find the answers. And a lot of writers kind of do the opposite when they start writing because they have all the answers, right? As the author, we have the answers. And we feel the need to kind of show the reader these answers before they've even asked the question. And you have to do it in reverse order. You have to have your reader asking questions before they get the answers, because then you have that curiosity factor. You have question, answer, curiosity. And when we have curiosity and we get the answer to the question, that gives us a dopamine hit, like actual chemical reaction happening in your brain. And I talked about this in I think in my inciting incident video. I'm pretty sure I go through like the whole brain science thing, but triggering that curiosity, it triggers the pleasure and reward system in your brain. And that creates pleasure for your reader. As they're reading now, they have to know what happens next, because you're constantly laying out a new question that matters to your character, and then the answer. So I know that's kind of vague and conceptual, and I talk about all of these principles way more in depth in my videos for this reason, but just try not to dump the answer before the question. That's basically what I'm trying to say here. Okay, one more question, and then we'll get into our next sprint. Let's see. Trying to find one that is. Any tips on description? I'm really bad and would absolutely love some advice. PS, love your videos. I use them all the time. Well, thank you. I'm so glad you like my videos. But I would say for description, I actually have a video on description, description and pacing, and it's kind of similar to what I just talked about with the screenwriting. So your reader sees everything happening at the pace at which they read. Okay, so that's one golden rule to keep in mind when you're writing description, is however long it takes a person to read this description is basically the pace at which your story is going by. So if you can imagine it almost like a movie, it's actually a great compliment when your reader tells you, I could see this happening in my mind like a movie, because that means it didn't stop, it didn't pause, it didn't lag, right? Like my live streams, when I have my VPN on, it's lagging. That's kind of how it feels when you're reading a description that just goes on, and you're like, get to the point. Where does this end? And you don't want that, obviously. You want to avoid that. You want it to be visual, but you want to make sure that things are still moving along. Okay. And you'll find a balance of this. It's really like time. It just practice. And it might not make perfect, but it certainly makes you better. And it makes you more experienced every time you sit down to write. And also pay attention to description in books that you read, that you really enjoy reading. Books that you get through really quickly, like that you can't put down. How much description is there really? Like, are we going to a lot of description or just a little bit? Is less more? Usually it is. Usually we need very few words to tell us what is happening. So a lot of writers tell me, like, I feel like there's not enough description. I feel like I don't have enough like world building or showing the setting. You really don't need that much. Obviously, you want to avoid like the white room syndrome of like not telling us anything that we are trying to see. But if we have even just bits and pieces of clever description, you'll be surprised by what your reader's imagination can do with that. So hopefully that helps. Let's get back into our next sprint, because I've been talking too long. I've been talking for like 15 minutes. Come on. Okay. I'm going to set my timer for 20 minutes. Again, 20 minutes on the clock. Okay, and where's my Discord? Oh, so many writers in the Discord. Okay, I'm starting a new sprint in the Discord. And I wasn't dead last in the word count. That's good. Sometimes I am because I don't write that fast. 8:39. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna start my timer, and I'll talk to you in 20 minutes. That is timer number 2 for writing sprint number 2. Let me know how it went in the chat. I could just sighed really big. Finally, that one's done. I don't know where I even started. Oh, I actually wrote down my count in this. Okay, so 1117. 278 words for that sprint. I felt like I did more. I don't know. I guess not. So tell me how yours went. I know these writing sprints go by so quickly, don't they? Like, just time flies when you're having fun. Looks like you guys got a lot of words written. Awesome. Fantastic. Great job, everyone. Wonderful. Great job. So we have one more writing sprint to do, but first we're going to take a quick break. It's going to be 5 minutes this time, I swear. And then we're going to get into our third and final writing sprint. Okay, so take a break, get a replenish your coffee or tea if you desire. And I'm going to answer a few questions, and then we'll get into our next sprint. Okay, so chat is jumping at me. How to show internal conflict without being too obvious. And that is a question from Wendy. That's a great question. It's a balance for sure, finding just the right amount of internal conflict to sprinkle out for the reader to find. And that can be difficult because you don't want to release like too much information right away, because your protagonist is not very self-aware. Okay, that's the point. That's really the only thing to remember, that your protagonist, like most people, is not fully self-aware of what their internal struggles are, right? So they might know what they want, and they might know their goal of like how they plan to get what they want, but they probably don't know what their misbelief is, that it's a misbelief. They know what it is, but they don't know that it's wrong. They don't know probably where it came from, and they might not even know what they're afraid of, really, in so many words. Usually it's like there's like a fear that's kind of on the surface that we know that we're afraid of certain things, but a lot of times we are not self-aware enough to be able to pinpoint like what is the reason we're afraid of this thing, right? And so that can be a fun mystery to unveil as time goes on. But I would say the thing that your protagonist can be aware of is the clear goal of how they want to get what they want, how they're going to pursue something to make themselves happy, okay, in so many words, and what their misbelief is, but they don't know it's a misbelief, okay, and they probably don't know where it came from. So if you have those things laid out, I think that you can kind of play with the balance of how much of their fears to reveal at the point where your reader is kind of picking up on the hints. Like they can put two and two together and kind of see, okay, I'm guessing that this fear came from that place, but your character probably doesn't know yet. So hopefully that helps. Super chat just came in. Thank you so much to Vandalia 1998. What is overwriting and underwriting? Is that the same as show don't tell or something different? I have heard those two terms thrown around in the writing world, and I'm not a person who like knows all of the technical jargon. So you might have to Google that one. But overwriting and underwriting, I think, are two different stages of the writing process, and also sometimes different different tasks for different types of professional writers. So it depends on what environment you're using these terms in. As far as show don't tell is definitely a great rule of thumb to have, but also one to not overthink. So I know a lot of writers overthink it and then kind of get themselves into this creative paralysis of like they can't write anything because they're afraid that they're telling too much. I say just tell and go for it and try to just write forward as much as possible for the first draft. And then as you go back through it with a fine-tooth comb in the editing process and the revision process, you can look for places where you're telling too much and show it instead, or ask your beta readers to tell you, where does it feel like it's too much telling and not enough showing, or do you feel like it's repeat information that you showed me and then you told me what you just showed me? So beta readers are a great person to ask to just deepen your own understanding of your book and your writing. Here's a good question from Crystal Wolf. What do you do when you feel overwhelmed and unmotivated? That's a great question. And I think, honestly, every creative at some point feels overwhelmed and not motivated. This happens to me, honestly, quite a lot. And the thing is to not let it psych you out. Like, don't make any rash decisions based on just how you feel on any given day, because we all have bad days. We all have days where we don't feel motivated and where we feel overwhelmed. What I try to do when I feel overwhelmed is I try to stop looking at the big picture, because usually overwhelm has to do with you're just looking at too much all at once. Even if it's something like outlining a book, maybe you're looking at the whole book and you just need to look at these next few scenes or this next one scene, and narrowing in on that will help you to not have that sense of overwhelm. Also, for feeling unmotivated, what helps me a lot is to first remember my why, remember why I'm doing this, and also to take out the pressure of trying to do something really well or to do it perfectly or to impress somebody. Like, if you take off that pressure, you'll find that it's so much more fun to be creative and to not have to, push yourself to meet this certain standard that you've held up in your mind as like, I have to achieve this or else it's no good. Like, just take all those limiters off. They're not serving you. They're not serving anyone. And honestly, our best creativity, our best ideas come from a place of freedom and joy, where you're not trying so hard. Just don't take it so seriously. And I know it's difficult. It's easier said than done, but it will help you a lot to not take it so seriously. Okay. One more question, and then we're going to get into our next sprint. But hopefully that helped, that answer. Okay, a super chat just came in, so I will answer this super chat, and then we'll get into our next sprint. How do you keep your ideas in check? I get an idea and start planning for a 160-page book and end up planning for a 1,600-page first novel of a multi-part series, and then I don't finish it. Okay, so your ideas definitely can take you all over the place. It can get chaotic very quickly. So what I try to focus on when it comes to adapting my new ideas is to understand, like, what are my goals with any given story. What audience am I trying to appeal to? And also for myself, how much time do I want to spend with this book? Like, do I want to make this a series and spend a lot of time with it, spend a lot of time developing these characters and make a bigger, longer commitment to this story? Or do I just want to, enjoy the process of writing a smaller story? A lot of these things are questions that you can ask yourself and kind of meditate on for your own, like personally for your own author journey, what is best for you, because definitely you want to make the right decision, not just based on, selling more books, but based on, what are you going to enjoy doing? What is going to sustain you creatively? And I always try to start smaller rather than committing to a huge project. So a lot of times a book idea will turn into multiple books, or will turn into a longer book than I anticipated, or I'll start writing a short story. I've said this before. I'll start writing a short story and then we'll turn into a novel. At which point it's like, okay, cool. That's how it was supposed to go. That's where your creativity took you naturally, which is a good thing. But sometimes if you overcommit, then you just get overwhelmed, right? It's the same as I was saying a minute ago. You get into like this creatively stuck mode where you can't move forward because you just feel overwhelmed by all of it. So I'd recommend starting smaller than you anticipate, and then just seeing where your creativity takes you, but also examine your own goals for your author career and try to make decisions based on what's going to suit you best and sustain you. Okay, so hopefully that helps. Let's get into our third and final writing sprint. I'm going to start one in the Discord. Last 20 minutes. Let's give it all we've got, guys. I have the same number, and I'm pretty sure I can just do that. Okay, that worked. Great. So if you're in the Discord, join in the Discord. Otherwise, stay on the live stream, and we're going to get into our next sprint. 20 minutes on the clock. I really want to finish this scene. Let's get into it. Okay, boom. Timer number 3, sprint number 3 is done. Let's see, that went by really fast. 434. Oh, time hasn't run out yet on the Discord, but my timer rang. There it is. 317 words on that sprint. Boom. Hopefully it went well for you guys as well. I am happy with what I wrote. Actually, the scene I'm writing ended up taking a little bit of a different turn than I expected, but I'm glad that it did, because I think this will give me another opportunity to give my characters a little more internal conflict, which is always a good thing. So, all in all, I wrote almost 1,000 words in this session. Fantastic. That was really good. Way to show up for yourself. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this writing session. It was so much fun. I'm glad that you all could make it, and super glad that this was a productive writing session for you guys. We're going to be doing another writing session, Write With Me live stream on Saturday, so stay tuned for that one. Keep an eye out. The watch page will show up on my channel the day before is usually how it happens. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. If you're in the Discord community, then you will be in there all the time, chatting with me and writing with me. I do writing sprints in there almost every day, and that's super fun to be able to hang out with you guys in the Discord and chat about our writing updates and movies and books, and all sorts of fun discussions happen there. So check that out if you haven't joined already. Link is in the description box below this video. You can get inside the Discord by joining my Patreon at any level, and I hope to see you there. Okay, guys, thank you again for joining me today. I hope you had a great time. I had a great time writing with you, and I will see you in the next one. Subscribe so you don't miss it, and I will see you then. Until then, rock on. Shh.